The answer is, you know, I don't know. We discuss it every year. We think it's dumb to have such a short whip. But on the other hand, if we said, well, in our country we're going to go back to what we used to allow, the problem then becomes a TD and an FEI steward's nightmare in a CDI where they have open shows and CDI classes. I think it would be okay as long as every CDI has a completely separate warm-up. It just doesn't always happen that way. That's the ideal thing. So we kind of agree that not every FEI rule is a rule that we should follow and change for our national shows. And, you know, certain things like we can carry whips at the FEI levels in an open class. That's an example of a rule that differs from what the FEI says. So I don't know. Maybe we keep talking about it. If Ann Gribbons has her way, yes, we will. And then this question is at the Linda Zhang Stephen Clark Symposium put on by somebody. I can't quite read it. I don't suppose that's the important part. Linda said she starts all judging at a 10 and subtracts from that. USEF rules say to start with the 4 or 5. Why is the methodology different? She did not answer this question when she was asked about starting with the gate score. First of all, it's not an USEF rule that you start at a 4 or a 5. I don't know. Whomever wrote this, that's a misconception. There is no rule. There's a rule about if the judge gives a 6 or below, there should be a comment. But it doesn't describe judging methodology in the rule book, okay? The second thing I can say is that we train our national judges with the methodology that I just discussed. You look at the gate score, you look at the training scale or the basics, you add the criteria of the movement, and then you plus or minus with the modifiers. Modifiers being accuracy. Okay? If I can tell you that if Linda starts with a 10 and gets to her score, and I use my methodology and get to the score, at the end of the day, Linda and I, who we've judged together a lot all over the world, Linda and I are going to be the same. And I think that's really the important part, is the consistency. It's Lilo 4 and I judged at the regional championships at Region 2. And Lilo and I judged for 3 days together and placed everybody the same and had no difference. Sure enough, the 4th day, bingo, here comes a horse at 4th level. And I was 20 points different. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just awful. And of course I was lower. So of course the rider thought I was wrong. And I said, you know, Lloyd has this great computer program where you can go in and look at every single score. So I said, let's go look at that and let's go see where it was. There was not one place in the entire test where we were 2 points apart. We were 1 point apart. Sometimes I was a 7, she was an 8. Sometimes I was an 8, she was a 7. There was never more than 2 points apart. It's just, it was one of those horses that was like between a 6 and a 7, a 6 and a 7 sometimes. You know, I went down, she went up. So I was lower, but we were never that far apart. So, you know, then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay with that. And I was on the side, and things sometimes look worse when you're on the side. But basically, the methodology that we teach here in the U.S. through the L program first, then the small r, then the large r, then through the S, is what I've just discussed. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Okay, so now my favorite level, the great black hole of training. Second level is where we want to start to see some collection. And we have some pretty interesting versions of collection. We have collection which is very slow and very short. Some people think
collected trot. They read in the rule book that it should be a shorter stride. But what they don't continue on and read about the activity. And you have to think about everything we take away in length, we add in height. Okay, we add in elasticity and engagement and impulsion. So the collection, I think, is what gets everybody confused. And I always have riders and judges say, how much collection do you really need? And I guess for me, the easiest way to say it is if the rider in the ring can go through the movements and do the test with me sort of sitting in my chair, sipping my coffee, look around going, oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, I'm not supposed to look around. I'm looking at the rider, but I'm relaxed. And I'm breathing, and I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm wondering what we're going to have for lunch in an hour, you know, things like that. We always worry about our next feedings. And to me, that rider's going to have a 60% or above, because I'm not going to feel any stress. Now, on the other hand, if I'm sitting there on the edge of my chair going, oh my God, oh no, uh-oh, uh-oh, or I tell my script, I don't even have the words to describe what just happened. You know, I mean, you're just speechless because you've never seen anything like that before. Then I would say that's not going to be a very good score. Okay? So that's the best way for me to say how much collection do you need. Okay? So, girls, let's not make me all stressed out right before lunch. Okay? It's bad for my digestion. And we have Jessie, and I know Jessie, so I know which one she is. So Amy, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and being demo riders. We really appreciate it. We know this is hard, and it gets harder as you go up the levels because, you know, we kind of go yada, 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 and we say, okay, let's go do some really good somethings, right? Right. Okay, should we read the purpose of second level so you all know what you're supposed to be doing? Okay. Now, you'll notice that as the levels go up, the purpose gets longer, all right? Because we have to say more things. I think when I can't read this without glasses, I'm going to stop judging. Purpose: to confirm that the horse, having demonstrated that it has achieved the thrust or pushing power required at first level. Remember, pushing means the hind legs can still go a little bit out behind. Now shows that through additional training, it accepts more weight on the hindquarters, in parentheses collection, shows the uphill tendency required at medium gaits, and is reliably on the bit. We changed that when we did the test. We put uphill tendency because we think it's going to come and go a little bit. Okay, we think it's, back in the old days, Gustav Nagel used to tell us judges, collection is collection is collection is collection. And we were like, really? That's interesting. Did you know that? Jessie, did you know that? Yeah, at Grand Prix, it's the same collection as it is at second level. Yeah, well, we didn't buy that, and thank goodness that sort of idea has gone away. So at second level, we expect to see the uphill tendency come and go. We do expect to see a greater degree of straightness, bending, suppleness, throughness, balance, and self-carriage than is required at first level, basically because there is no self-carriage at first level. It's not required. So if you're getting comments from judges that training in first level needs to be more uphill, needs to be more uphill, that's not necessary, that's not true, okay? Because you don't need to be uphill at training in first level. You shouldn't be downhill, okay, tripping on your lips. So perhaps if you're a judge and you've been using that at those two levels, you should talk about balance, okay? Needs a different balance.